All right, guys, joining us now is Terence Santos de la Rosa Sims, the Vice President of Senior Services from Chicago Commons. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Before we get into our discussion today, LaDonna, today I'm not speaking from the perspective of being a senior myself. I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who has been blessed to spend decades in conversations with older adults through my work, through my community, and through my own family. Over the years, I've had thousands of conversations with seniors about their joys, fears, hopes, losses, accomplishments, and dreams. Those conversations have taught me some of life's most important lessons. What I share today comes from those experiences and from the tremendous respect that I have for the generation that has given us all so much.
I totally understand it, and I'm glad you shared that with us. We spend a lot of time talking about services and programs and resources, like you said, and those things are important. But if we're going to do this well for our listeners, let's talk about people. What does it feel like to grow older in a world that seems to move faster every day? Or even, what does wisdom look like when you're overseeing everything that has to do with your loved ones as they age? What can younger generations learn from their elders? What are seniors really talking about when nobody is handing them a microphone, I guess in their own time or at their own pace?
Let me say this. What I would want people to understand, and what I really want seniors to understand from my perspective, is that I want them to know that they have not been forgotten. The world may move faster than it once did. Technology changes overnight. The pace of life can sometimes make people feel as though they are left behind. But after thousands of conversations with seniors, I've come to understand something important. Wisdom never goes out of style. The lives you live, the challenges you've overcome, the families you've raised, the careers you've built, the communities you've strengthened, and the lessons you've learned are treasures that cannot be replaced. One of the things that concerns me most is that society often celebrates youth while overlooking experience. And yet, whenever I sit down, or I have sat down with seniors in the past and I hear their stories, I'm reminded that some of our life's greatest knowledge comes from the classroom, but from decades. It doesn't just come from the classroom, but it comes from decades of living. Your value is not determined by how much you can do from day to day. Your value is found in who you are, what you've contributed, the impact you've made on countless lives along the way. And the truth is that many of us are standing where we are today because of the sacrifices and efforts of your generation. And for that, we owe you not only gratitude, but so much respect.
Wow. Technology moves really fast. Culture changes fast. And sometimes they feel left behind. What are we hearing from seniors about that?
A lot of times when we think about the services as it impacts the world moving faster, right? This is one of the most heartfelt concerns that I hear a lot of times, is that many seniors spend much of their lives caring for others. They were providers, they were caregivers, they were protectors, they were problem solvers. So when they begin needing support themselves, it can feel uncomfortable or even frightening. What I often share is that needing support is not the same as losing independence. In fact, the right support often preserves independence. Our goal is never to take over someone's life. Our goal is to help people continue living the life that they want to live with confidence, dignity, choice. That means listening first. It means respecting seniors' preferences, honoring their routines, and recognizing that they are still fully capable of making decisions about their own lives.
What have seniors taught you about loneliness?
That loneliness is one of the most human experiences we can have. Missing someone you love is not a weakness. It is evidence of how deeply you care. But I would also remind them that that connection is still possible. Sometimes people think overcoming loneliness requires making a dramatic change. In reality, healing often begins with very small incremental steps. It might be calling a friend. It might be attending a community gathering. It might be visiting a senior center, a place of worship, a local event, or simply having a conversation with a neighbor. I've seen lives literally transform because someone took one small step towards connection. And that's just not seniors, that's everyday people. One of the most beautiful things that I've learned from seniors is that while loss changes us, it doesn't eliminate our capacity to give and to receive love. There are still people who need your wisdom. There are still people who would benefit from hearing your stories. There are still friendships waiting to be formed. If you're listening today and feel alone, please remember this. Your story is not over. The chapters behind you may be filled with memories, but there are still chapters ahead that can be filled with purpose, friendship, laughter, and meaning. And as long as there's another day in front of us, there's another opportunity for connection, and there will always be a reason to hope.
What role does purpose play in, say, healthy aging?
There have been many moments, right? And I don't have to take you through a story that kind of leads to purpose. There have been many moments, but one lesson appears to me from my experience again and again, and I think hope for our listeners, seniors who have endured losses that most people would find unimaginable. They've lost spouses after decades of marriage. They've buried loved ones. They face health challenges, financial hardships, and periods of profound loneliness. Yet somehow, many of them continue to move forward with remarkable grace. I remember speaking with a senior, an older woman who had lost her husband after more than 60 years of being together. She told me, I'll never forget, she said, I never thought that I would have to learn how to live life without him. She was referring to her husband. At first, her grief felt overwhelming, but over time, she began reconnecting with others. She started sharing stories, mentoring younger people, reaching out to friends who were struggling. And one day she said something I'll never forget as well. She said, the love we shared didn't end when he left. She said, I carry it with me every day, which reminds me of a quote I read many years ago, is that to live in the hearts of those who love you is to never die. That statement taught me something really profound, is that resilience is not the absence of pain. Resilience is finding a way to carry pain while continuing to live with purpose. To your question, the seniors I've met have shown me that strength is often quiet. It's not found in grand gestures all the time. It's found in getting up each morning, choosing hope, sharing wisdom, and continuing to love despite life's hardships.
What are some things that seniors wish their children and grandchildren understood about getting older?
Seniors spend much of their lives, really focusing and helping others. And, you ask yourself as you get older sometimes, if you could look back on your younger self, what would you say to yourself? And I've had these conversations throughout the years with many different people in many different capacities. And the resounding theme has always been, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. And, I know that's oftentimes easier said than done. However, it is going to be okay. Because regardless of the outcome, whether you can control it or not, it's still going to be okay. Even if you have to pivot, even if you have to problem solve. I don't look at problems as being something that's fixed in nature. Solutions finds problems don't find solutions. So I think for young people, they would really say, hey, take your time. The best progress is made slowly. You're not in a rush to get where you need to be, especially if you're going in the wrong direction. And if you don't know what direction that you're going in, any road will get you there.
How do you think seniors continue moving forward?
I wrote something a while ago. I'm a writer and I'm a poet. And I think what I realized about grieving, because we all grieve, it's not an age thing. Once upon a time, at least when I was growing up, death was synonymous with older age, 80, 90, 100, if you were blessed to live beyond those years. But in today's times, unfortunately, people have really passed away at various ages, 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't think death discriminates. But what I'll say is this about grieving, right? And I've learned this, and LaDonna, I'm sure you unfortunately lost some people in your lives that you may have been close to. But grieving is forever. It's not a time period. It's the price of love when we no longer have a loved one to share our lives with. Initially, grieving brings the innate feeling of anger and sadness, but later you find that grief can bring you strength that fills spaces that were once empty. Grieving allows you to have a badge of honor and care. It allows you the capacity to expand gratitude that may have once been taken for granted. Finding purpose in that grief I think really helps us to expand our love for others. And I think that's what we learn in the midst of, hardship and people passing away and you lose people. But you have to reconnect, even seniors who have lost a lot of their friends, if not the majority of their friends, and they're the last man or woman standing, if you still have someone close to you, family, neighbors, like I mentioned earlier, senior centers, connecting with other people, because, God didn't put us here to be alone. We were here meant to connect with one another in some capacity, whether that's in companionship, friendship, marriage, whatever the case may be. So those are my thoughts on that.
Well, everybody, thank you so much. Terence Santos De La Rosa Sims, VP of Senior Services from Chicago Commons.
Hey, you can give us a call at 773-373-5055, or you can reach us on the web at www.chicagocommons.org.